All right. Good evening, everybody, to recording in progress. As you heard, Sipur Maisias Mo Hashem. Hopefully, we can get into a more theistic schedule. So, without further ado, let's just go ahead and see where we have. That is not what I'm looking for. Just a second. Just a second. So it is here. Just give me a second to find myself. All right, here we go. All right. So as we said that the princess told him, you go to a certain place and you wait and you long, and the last day you should fast. First time she said she should not sleep and fast, and then afterwards, when he failed that, she said, last year you should, you don't have to fast, but don't sleep. You don't drink wine, so you don't sleep. And he tasted from a little bit of like a fountain that it should have been water, but looked like wine. So this is really curious, and just tasted it and fell asleep for 70 years. And we said these 70 years are talking about the 70 facets of the Torah. And during that time, says many soldiers, many soldiers were going along with the trains that follow them, and the servants hid himself because of the soldiers. And after that, went a carriage and covered wagons, and there sat the king's daughter. She stood next to him, and she went down and sat next to him and recognized him. She tried very much to wake him, but he couldn't be awoken. So she started to lament over him and says, so many, many great efforts and toils you tortuously made for these many, many years in order to take me out. And for one day, when you could have taken me out, you completely lost. And she cried very much about this. And she said, it is a great pity on you and me that I'm here such a long time, can't get out. And afterwards, she took the scarf off her head and she wrote on it with her tears and laid it down next to him. And she stood up and sat in her carriage and rode away. So when we spoke about this particular passage, we said two very interesting observations. I mean, one, the fact that his entire history in trying to take the daughter of the king out is basically just one long story of failure. And it seems from the language, from the narrative, that because he failed already twice, now the princess is no longer in a place where he could at least come to her and say, I botched it up, what do I do now? She left that place. And as we said, as we'll notice in the story, she says, now you have to find me, you have to look for a mountain of gold and a castle made of pearl. This is where you'll find me. And we said that, interestingly enough, there are two aspects about this. One of them is that, as we'll see later on, wherever it is he goes, he meets with very, very high people, and all the animals and all the birds and all the winds, which obviously don't have any ulterior motive, to mislead him. The old time, there's no such place. And only at the very end, when he is insistent that there is such a place, then comes another one, the Ruach Sarah, that comes, and the one that is in charge of all the winds, all the souls, all the neshamas, whatever you want to call it, says to the wind, where were you? I called all the winds to come. Why didn't you come? And the wind says, because I was busy taking a princess to a mountain of gold and a castle of pearls. And Rabbeinu says, interesting thing, he says, and he was very happy. And we're not even clear about who is actually very happy. Is it the viceroy that is happy, or the Memuna on the Ruchos that helped him is the one who's being happy? That's questions that we'll delve into when we get there. But we said that Lemaisa, that which looked like a continuous exercise in futility of the viceroy trying to take the bat milch out, and then the last day he botches it up and loses everything. We've had in our history so many such almosts that in fact seem to have led to incredible calamities. Even Nosson writes in Likutei Halachos that the years of Tach V'Tat were the great programs in Ukraine that took place, were actually very auspicious time. This is the time that Mashiach was supposed to come. And being that Am Yisrael were not roid for Mashiach to come at that time, it flipped over and many people died. Many people died. And it is based upon the equation that the code of Kodesh Baruch Hu and the neshamas of Am Yisrael are basically one thing. And there is an interchange that goes between the kavod of Hashem and Am Yisrael and Neshamas Yisrael, being in this world, leaving this world. When Moshe Rabbeinu makes the Mishkan, because Baruch Hu tells him beforehand, Vasuli Mishkan, let them make a Mishkan for me, V'nikdash b'chvoidi. And later on, when the Mishkan was inaugurated, and Nadav and Avihu died, Moshe Rabbeinu said, this is what Hashem said, he says, B'krovai HaKodesh, the Ikoved, that Rabbeinu says that when a new covet comes to a person, the person should be very careful, because sometimes, not most times, but sometimes, the covet comes to a person for istalkus. Because when there is, the presence of a person in this world is predicated on a very delicate balance between the revelation of Hashem's covet, which is the neshama, in the concealment of Hashem's covenant, which is the body able to hold on to the neshama. We said once before, at least once, that Reb Nosson writes that there are basically there's a balance between two names of Hashem that is at play here. There is the Shem Havaya, Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is called the Shem Etzem, because that particular euphemism denotes Kevyochol, the Etzem of Hashem's word, the essence of Hashem's word. The only thing you can say about it that he was, is, and will be. We cannot say anything about its nature. We have no saga in it. So Shem Havaya is the thing that talks about the Kadosh Baruch Hu himself. Then we have that which is called the Shem Adnei. That's the Aleph Dalet Mud Yud. That's the name that we use to call a Kadosh Baruch Hu, to speak to Kadosh Baruch Hu, Tefillah, whatever it is. And that name is called the Shem HaKinui, because that name, it doesn't talk about anything about the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It only talks about his job, basically. That he's an Adon, that he's a master, he's the ruler, he's the king. So now a job, the description is from the outside, it's not from the inside, it's not about the essence. So basically, the Shem HaEtzem, the Shem Havaya, is the name of exposure. It exposes the Kavod HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's a dimmer that basically, a rheostat that intensifies the light. Now, Shem Adnus is the opposite. That's the Shem of the Malchus, of the Gvura. That's the name, the Kinui that hides the Kavod of Hashem, that hides the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Yimela, you have this kind of there's a role of the father, which is Mitzad Shem Havaya, Mitzad the Chesed, and you have the role from the mother, which is Shem Adnus, the Malchus, Mitzad the Gvuros. So in the body of a person, the body of a person is comprised of the etzem. These are all the white parts that come from the chesed, that come from the father. And you have all the kino, you have the gvuras, you have the temporal body, as it were. It comes from puris, it is red, white and red. So what happens is that in order for a person to exist in this world, the body and the neshama have to coexist. Now, if one of them overtakes the other, the connection sort of like breaks off. The body in on itself doesn't need to eat, doesn't need to breathe, doesn't need to live. By itself, just disintegrates and is gone. The neshama, in and on itself, also doesn't need to eat, doesn't need to drink, it exists forever, no problem. When they get together, the neshama and the body, what happens is that there has to be a balance where that much of the neshama will shine and that much of the body will basically hold off from an overexposure of the neshama. Because what happens is that when a person passes away, what happens is it's not an overabundance of gashmias. What happens is a fakir. It's an overexposure of ruchnias. That's what it says in Tehillim. Tosef rucham yigvayim. You add on to their ruach, you add on to their spirit, and they'll pass away. Why? Because when there's a dial-up of the exposure of the neshama, the body can no longer hold on to the neshama, and they separate. Now, the thing that happens while they're together is that when you need when the overall the inert nature of the body overcomes, and a person needs more ruach, more bracha, what do? You give him a bracha in the name of the Father. In other words, you open up more light, more bracha. Well, the person's a Torah in the name of his father, and so forth and so on, because this is when this is when you need to bring more bracha, more ruchnis. Just hold on for a second. So but when a person is chas v'chalila not well, and then what you need to do is you need to increase the shielding force. You don't want that the ruach will be exposed more. You don't want an overexposure of tosef ruchan, because the result will be gvayon chas v'chalila. So then when you pray for a person, for a first shlema, you don't mention the name of the Father, which is the outlet for the Shem Havaya. What you do is you mention the name of the Mother, which brings upon an increase of Shem Adnos, more protection from the light of Ruach. So what we have over here is that you see that the Viceroy is looking for the Shekhinah, he's finding the Shekhinah, he loses the Shekhinah, he loses his battle, he wins a battle, he loses a battle. But ultimately, when we come to think about what has actually happened between them, the initial question that he asked her when he met her at the place of the no good was, how can I get you out of here? And the Shekhinah told him, it is not possible to get me out of here unless you find a place, you spend a year there, and then the last day, so forth and so on. Second time, again, you can't get me out of here. So you go for a whole year, do that. Now, when the Shekhinah comes and meets him afterwards, when he falls down to sleep of 70 years, in other words, he falls off from all the 70 facets of the Torah. And she laments, woe to him and to me, everything he went through. There's one thing that we lose sight of, and that's the fact that the Shekhinah is no longer at the place of the no good. Which means, as we spoke about it quite a few times, last few shurim, his failures did not matter really. Yeah, if he wouldn't have failed, then the whole thing would come into complete success in one shot. Wonderful. But that's not what happened. The thing is that we would look at the whole thing and say like, okay, if you don't achieve the results that you want, then you did nothing. You didn't achieve anything. And it's not true. In fact, he is achieving a great deal. He took her out of where she was. And this is something that I keep on repeating the past 3 shurim. Your failures, your failures are a very, very potent weapon. Because you have to understand, when you do something, I remember there I met a psychologist in America, and it told me a story. It was an unaffiliated Jew. He said he's going to tell me a story, a Jewish story. I said, go ahead. And he says, once a person wanted to impress his rabbi and decided that he's going to fast for a whole week. Now the rabbi is really going to be impressed. Oh, wow, that guy's coming out looking like a new King Kong. This is unbelievable. And the guy fasts, and 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. To the 5th day, he can't anymore. And he says he wants to eat. And before he eats, he decides, I'm going to make it 1 more day. It'll be 6 days and I'll do it. And he comes 6th day. And according to the story of this psychologist, is the rabbi said, I don't accept patch jobs. So I told him, this is the most un-Jewish story I've ever heard. How so? Says, forget about the fact that the guy would do something in order to impress the rabbi. Who's the rabbi? Who cares about the rabbi? But this story is a story about achievement. You didn't achieve it because you wanted to eat. Hey, you didn't eat, whatever. I told him Yiddishkeit is not ceremonies. Yiddishkeit is not the Olympic Games. Yiddishkeit is a regimen, and everything is effort centered. How much effort did you put into it? The results don't matter. The results are the cheshbon of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, according to whatever it is he sees fit. Now you should succeed, now you should not succeed, and according to the plan that he has for you to reach where you need to reach, to take the daughter of the king out from captivity. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted Adam Rishon wouldn't have eaten from Etzadas. Am Yisrael would not build the Egel. All these things would not happen. The Meraglim wouldn't. Yes, of course, free choice is at play here. But we say in Pirkei Avos, Akol tzafui v'reshut netuna. The Kodesh Baruch Hu wanted me to be Avraham Avinu, I would be Avraham Avinu. There's no. I remember, I'm not sure if Rabbi Zisha said that or the Peshischa says that. He says, if they would tell me that I can exchange and I would be Avraham Avinu and Avraham Avinu will be Rav Simcha ben Peshischa, he says, I wouldn't agree to that. Because what would HaKadosh Baruch Hu have out of it? He'll have one Avraham Avinu and one Peshischa. You switch them. Okay, it's still a one Avraham Avinu and one Peshischa. What's the point? What did HaKadosh Baruch Hu have out of it? HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one who runs the show. He knows what he's doing, whatever it is that he's doing. Success is not from success. In fact, is only a parameter of how much you want it. Because if you are like 100% dead focused on succeeding, you will succeed. No matter how many failures ahead in all the failures that Am Yisrael failed as it were, and that I failed and you failed. Each such failure is a challenge for what do we do with it when we get up? Where do we take it from here? Look, when you take a look at the whole thing, and it seems like, why is this a constant challenge? What is this all about? Why you keep on another challenge and another challenge and another challenge? Like, what's the point? Second, hold on. Like, it sounds like a journey that never ends. That suffering and failure seem to chase one another. And you take a look and you see Yiras Shamayim of the tzaddik. You know, when Rabbeinu had such Yiras Hashem that when he was sitting at a table, you put his hands on the table, the entire table would shake. He once one of his talmidim, his close talmidim, said he wanted to taste, to have a tam of Rabbeinu's Yiras Hashem. So Rabbeinu told him, but you won't be able to stand it. You won't. So nevertheless, so Rabbeinu did what he did, and this talmid fell on the floor and started, crying out like an animal being taken to shechita. He just couldn't talk. It was just like, and so Rabbeinu took it away from him. So comes the question like, where's the fun? You're leading a life that is like a constant fear and awe to the point you're shaking like a leaf. And then we're talking about failures and getting up and failures and getting up and failures and getting up. What's the point? Take a look at the Goyim. Some of them succeed, they fail, whatever it is, but they achieve that, whatever it is, the thing that I don't know. They they go to the Olympics and they get a medal. I don't know, whatever it is. You can go, you can Wagyu beef, whatever it is. You can take sushi, whatever. There's some fun along the way. What's the point? It's just spending your life, with this total awe. Such a pachad. The answer is, it's not an awe, it's not a fear of what will he do to me. Have you ever been in the presence of somebody really, really great? It could be in any area. Bifrat, of course, if you say a Gadol B'Yisrael, somebody like Chaim Kanievsky or the Stipe or Chazon Ish, and you are basically frozen with awe. But that awe, that yira, is a kli to understanding who it is that you're with. There is an oinig of no end when you're basking in the light of greatness. The year of Hashem means close to Hashem, and closeness to Hashem is the ultimate oinig. You take all the points of pleasure and nachas ruach that you have ever had, from the day that you were born. We talk about it. You take all the people of the city and all the people of the world and all people of all generations until the very end, and you put all those points of, winning the lottery and getting married and getting things their way and being matzliach, everything put together, including Limud Torah and everything else, and you condense it all to 1 point, 1 second. This is the time of Gan Eden. It has to have a kli for you to sustain it. It's like too much. The yira is the thing that sustains it. That's the kli. The gvura is the kli for the chesed. On the other side of Yiras Hashem, there is a tainug that has no end. All these trials and tribulations that we're going through in this world are just a speck in the kudah. 80 years, 90 years, 100 years. And what comes afterwards is a road that continues forever. I mean, those people that are in the Olympic Games, how much trials and tribulations they put into it, how much work they put into it, how much failure and this and that, whatever it is, and what do they get out of it? They get a medal. Do you remember who won the gold medal in triathlon in the last Olympics? They once asked the Rebbe Rayatz, I told him about the Olympics. And they said that this one broke a record, like a tenth of a second, 2/10 of a second from the previous record. So he said, what are they doing with all these tenths of seconds? Okay, they got it, they broke it. What are they doing with it? Es kommt nicht mit nicht. Es ist Stuyot. The whole idea, whatever it is that they get out of this world, is nonsense. The one thing that we need to understand is that with every single effort, with every single closed eye rebirth and re-beginning, as it were, we are creating a Kaini. You notice that when the soldiers started to come along, the servant hid himself. Then the princess came, and she came down to him and so forth. The servant is the seichel. Remember, the horse is the body, which he left behind to be able to get into the castle of the no good and get out of it in one piece. You can't do it, with sushi, it doesn't, with Wagyu beef. It doesn't work that way. But for the next phase, he had to leave he left the servant behind. It means that the seichel is already not a part of the game anymore. It's all about the mono. So when the seichel sees the armies coming along, the armies are the gvuris that surround the Shekhinah. The seichel hides. This basically applies to those points in your life in which, you don't feel anything. That's it. It's like somebody that they say, they tell them, listen, I have here this great musk. If you drink it, you'll really become like, wow. You'll feel great. You'll feel high, you feel delirious, whatever it is that you want. So they give me the drinks and they ask them, what do you feel? So I don't feel anything. Drink a little more. What do you feel? I don't feel anything. Drink a little more. I don't feel anything. So, you don't feel anything? No, I don't feel my legs. I don't feel my hands. I don't feel my head. That's it. I don't feel anything. When the Shekhinah comes and the Gvuras come and you get to a point that you don't see, you don't feel anything. The trick at that particular point, the strategy, the tactics at that point in time is to hide. What do you mean? You hide by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You hide yourself. You talk to HaKadosh Baruch Hu as much as you can. You ask him for a little here, a little there, a little here, a little there, and he will answer you. He'll answer you, because when you call HaKadosh Baruch Hu, out of the darkness, HaKadosh Baruch Hu answers you. A little here, a little there, a little here, a little there. As we said on Moshe Shabbos, like a rooster picking a kernel from a junkie. Don't try to figure things out. The worst time to make a decision, especially a life decision, is when you are b'mochin dekatnot, when you're upset. That's not the time to make decisions. That's not the time to make changes. Hide. It says, Chavir Akrega, get into the room, close the door, wait. Wait. In the meantime, trust the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Yeah, but I'm not really davening. I'm not really learning. Don't worry about it. Just wait for your chance. Wait for your chance. In the meantime, call HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Remember me? Od ktsat, od ktsat, od ktsat. With each one of those blind calling out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you are making a keli for Kovod Hashem. Kovod Hashem has to be protected like a nuclear power in a sarcophagus of lead, so that the radiation doesn't ruin it doesn't blow everything up. Baruch Hashem, I want to, first of all, thank you for being here. I want to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu that I'm also here. And B'ezrat Hashem, Lat will build, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should have, will build the shir up again, get everybody back. Later, it looks like, with the corona and everything, that I hope not, but it'll become more, I don't know, more of a choice. Let's say, I don't know. Anyhow, thank you very much. B'ezrat Hashem, I'll see you all on Thursday. We'll learn B'ezrat Hashem, Likutei Moharan, Torah Chaf Beis.